you can't go back and be like, why did I make that decision? Because you didn't know anything better, and that's fine and normal part of the process. So I'd say like you never really know how things in your life come together.
What's up, guys? I want to start the episode with Jeff telling everybody what he said after the first time we met Peiman. What did you say?
Oh, that he was the most like you out of anyone.
Let's fucking go. We're going to start the episode with that, guys. I've actually never heard in 9 years Jeff ever say any human is at all like me.
Well, on a couple of aspects, not your
high expectations.
Not your personality, but your I guess skill set,
intelligence, skill set.
I'll take it.
Yeah. He comes in super fresh. I asked how to pronounce his name, and he says Peiman, which what I would have said as well. You need to pronounce the name correctly. So, Peiman is the co-founder of MadHappy, and I just want to kind of give you the floor and just explain. Let's first just explain what MadHappy is. I think for me, the most unique thing about the brand is you never see luxury with inclusive. Luxury is always exclusive, and I think that you guys have done that better than anybody I've ever seen. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what the brand stands for and what it is?
For sure. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
What's up?
Of course.
Yeah, we started the brand MadHappy like 3 years ago. First, we just had a name, right? And the name speaks to you in different ways. And to us, it was super powerful. We knew we were onto something early on before we were like, oh, let's start a brand, right? And so I think that's where it started. It wasn't like we're creating a clothing brand and what should the name be? So I think it came from a place of we grew up in LA. Some of our partners grew up in New York, and every cool brand was very like closed off, right? You had to know someone. You walked in the store, you didn't feel good. Especially as a kid growing up and just trying to find your way. And we thought, why can't we create a brand that has those cool elements that we love, like cool collaborations, exciting products, exciting events, stores, while also making it more inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean all the products inclusive, but we wanted to create a good environment, right? And create a brand that was like in the name, it's like an optimistic and positive brand. And we think we could do all those cool things at the same time. So that's kind of the journey we've been on for the past 3 years, which I'm sure we'll get into more.
All right. Well, before Mark talks, I think you have the best probably name in streetwear. Not streetwear, but the fashion scene. And then two, I actually think you have the best slogan. And I want to talk about where did you come up with Local Optimist? Because that to me is like the best compliment to the name MadHappy.
For sure. Yeah. I think when you talk about MadHappy, we always wanted to be this big inclusive group and community. And so some of our guys had thought of this name like Local Optimist Group, right? Like everyone's in the Local Optimist Group. And so that early on became a tagline for us. And as we started to grow, like people kept referencing it and we didn't even like realize at first. And it caught on, right? And I think it's become like this other, slogan of ours and it's really grown, right? And now our whole mental health channel is called the Local Optimist, and so that's going to continue to grow. So it's been a good balance of the two.
I mean, with Ikonick too, it's like making positivity cooler has always been a kind of a hard thing to do in the industry. So I just see companies like us kind of bring optimism to the front is pretty special. So yeah, I think it's great.
Was there like research that went into the name, or did one of you guys just pop up and say, "Hey, this is the name"?
No, crazy story. Yeah. Mason, who's one of my partners, co-founders, he actually has dealt with a lot of like mental health challenges growing up, right? And we'll get into how the brand is trying to make an impact in the space. But he was texting a friend of ours like after his last college basketball game, and he was just like, "I'm mad happy for you." And then he was thinking about the name, and it felt very personal to him because of like the ups and downs he's dealt with in life, and it felt like a good way to have perspective on things, right? Like being optimistic despite the ups and downs of life. That's what MadHappy's about. And it started right there, right? It wasn't like, oh, we have this name, like let's give all this meaning to it. To us, it had a lot of meaning, and it went from that to him telling us about the name, and then one thing led to another, but that's how it came to be.
So we want to fast forward basically all the way up to MadHappy and talk more business and now, but I want to fast forward up to you being in finance, you being an iBanker. Tell us about that moment where it was only a couple months, what I read, that you were in finance, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have a job and they're saying, hey, when am I going to make that jump to entrepreneurship? Just tell us about your mindset, what it took, and what the path was from, if not a high-paying job, eventually a very high-paying job to, basically jumping off a cliff and starting a brand. What was that like?
Yeah, for sure. I think it wasn't as like thought out as now it might look. I think for me, I went to Michigan, graduated in 2016, and you fall into this trap of like, oh, you should get a job at these places because you can, type of thing. And so fell into this finance job. Always knew I wanted to do my own thing, but I was like, I'll do this for a little bit. It'll give me a good base to go off of. A few months in, I just like wasn't feeling good. Came home for a few months, really like because I was like sick and I didn't know what was wrong. And from there, decided not to go back. At the same time, this MadHappy stuff came to be, and I was like, oh, like, this is what I'm doing right now, just trying to figure out what's next. And then it became this huge thing, right? So I think like you never really know how things in your life like come together. Like now I could look back and say like I knew this was all gonna happen, but that's bullshit, and everyone will say that, right? Like there was so much luck involved to even being in the position for the seed of MadHappy to sprout to what it was, and so many random things had to happen to lead to that. So that's really how it came to be. And it's not like I had this plan and I was working on it on the side and then I left, which like is the usual story.
It sprouted fast. Let's talk about that. So it's you and 3 of your buddies. You have the name. I know your brother worked with Ugo, the fashion guy. How did it start? So you guys have the name, and then I know, obviously you're a finance guy. Your brother's a creative guy. You have kind of a mixed bag of talents. What happened in the beginning?
Yeah, it was 4 of us, and it wasn't like, let's raise money, let's create all this excitement. It was like, let's just create some product, right? So we did what we knew, and my brother and Mason had experience with making product in downtown. I was a little bit better at the operation side, same with our other partner, Josh, and came together and we released some product, right? And the initial support was, one, people loving the name within our like friends and family group. So wanting to wear it, wanting to buy it. We made like 200 hoodies. So sold out because there was only 200 hoodies. And then from there, just continue to put that money back into the business, create more product. And then we started doing a lot of the pop-ups, which I know we've spoken about, and that legitimized the brand and also got people to interact with it in real life. And for us, I think it's super important in apparel to like see it, feel it, understand the brand. So we paired that with like these cool events that we would do, and it just created excitement where like 100, 200, 300, 400 people would come to our parties, and then thousands and thousands of people would see it on social media, and it just created this like loop of our early growth.
I want to talk more about those pop-ups and kind of going back to the inclusive nature of your brand. I toured the US for 4 months. I went to 175 retailers, and me and my partners, my old company, joked around about how fucking weak all the employees were in all these stores. They'd be on their phone. They wouldn't even look to you. They wouldn't even talk to you. And credit to you, when I went to your store in LA, I went with my buddy Luis. Just had a great conversation with your guys. They were chilling. They were fun. We were talking music. Great experience in the store. So credit to you on that. Let's talk about the pop-ups though. So let's just say COVID is not happening right now. Obviously, it's an interesting situation, but I think your brand, among other things, is really known for kind of pioneering basically pop-ups. That's like what you guys are known for. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about the strategy behind that, and any big breaks or any moments that happened there that took you guys to the next level?
Yeah, I think in 2017, everyone was looking at retail like, if I'm starting a consumer brand, I'm only going direct to consumer online. I'm not doing any retail stores. And we were like, that seemed pretty dumb to us because we didn't know much at the time, but we knew that there was all these great properties that were vacant, right? So the landlords would want to do short-term deals. And we were like, we could set this up for pretty cheap, but create a really good like atmosphere where it doesn't feel like a pop-up, right? Like, I don't know, what store did you go to?
The one across from Cotton Citizen.
The LA one, yeah. So that one, right? You walk in, it's not like a pop-up, right? It's not like there's clothes on a rack. It's like a full built-out store and an experience room and different things that we incorporated. And granted, that was like our 12th one, so it looks a lot better than our first one. But we just saw that people loved, firstly, coming to the stores in general, even if whether they were shopping or not. So we created that environment, right? The right people in there, the right music, the right like friendliness, the right colors, the right things to do besides buying clothes. And then it just seemed to work on the sales side as well. People wanted to buy stuff. People wanted to come, send pictures to their friends in the store, create excitement, right? Like we would launch all these pop-ups with a big party, right? And that would show that like we're in this place, right? It was like kind of like a tour of sorts because you're in one city, but only for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then you go to another one. And so people don't want to miss it, right? There's like that excitement for that short period you're there that people want to come. They want to buy the exclusive hoodie for that store. And so it was great, and it's been great. And of course, we haven't been able to do any this year, but we're going to get right back into it next year, right? And whether that's permanent stores, more pop-ups, things of that sort, like we really believe in retail, at least for us. I think if you do it the right way, it still works well.
What was your expectations going in? Were you guys thinking, hey, this is brand awareness? Were you guys expecting to get the sales that you did?
Yeah, hard to look back, I think, to the early ones. I think early on, we were like, we have this opportunity. We're not doing anything else, so why not just take it? And the early pop-ups were more so, like we didn't even have that much product, right? Like 2 weeks in, we had no real product to sell, but it was just like kind of there, and it was like a community area, right? And like we're from LA, we were able to get excitement towards the brand.
The friends probably just came through and kicked
have people come in, and then later on, we started executing at a higher level in terms of how we're building it out, how we're stocking it, what events are around it, and just got a lot better at it.
Interesting. So I would say pop-up is one of the big things. I think collaborations has been huge. You guys just did the Headspace one, super dope. Uninterrupted, which LeBron was wearing. Let's talk about collaborations. You guys, the thing that I like with what you guys have done, you guys have been very thoughtful and tasteful with the stuff that you've done. You haven't kind of oversaturated yourself. What goes into picking a partner from a collaboration perspective for you guys?
For sure. I think we set a high bar. Our first ever collab was 6 months in with Colette. So we did the last ever hoodie they released, and they were all wearing them on the last day. And we got super lucky in getting that partnership. But from there, we saw how powerful a collab could be.
For everybody listening, Colette is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, street/fashion store in Paris.
Yeah.
That's since gone out of business.
Yeah. And so we set a really high bar there, right? And now everything we do, we want it to have this like really high bar, and whatever that means for that specific partnership, right? So that's a range for us, right? We did Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was like the first time that's ever been collaborated with. And then we did John and Vinny's in LA because there's like crazy excitement towards a brand that people really love, right? So everything's not just like clothing on clothing. It can be like thought of in a bigger way. And of course, we try to tie everything back to like our mission to make like the world a more optimistic place, right? So the Headspace one is specifically tied into the mental health space of like, how can you make meditation cool? How can you make it more accessible to people, right? We gave out free codes to Headspace to thousands of people from that partnership. And then other ones are just exciting, right? Like we did a John and Vinny's because that's fun. That's part of the community. That's exciting for people to like be able to support their places they want in new ways. And so we just try to keep a good mix, not do too many, not do too few, and do them at fun times of the year.
You got any down the pipeline you want to share?
We have a lot down the
pipeline.
Hit us with
one. Hit us with a fucking little preview. Come on, bro.
But we have...
Hit us with a little... I'm putting him on the fucking spot. What you got coming next?
We're working on... There's a famous pizza place that's opening in LA over the next couple of weeks.
You a foodie? John and Vinny's pizza?
I'll let you guys think about it on your own time. But doing something with them for the LA launch, famous place from New York, so that should be fun.
Dope, love it. He basically was just like, "Fuck you, I'm not telling you." Okay, that's cool. I would do the same thing. I've gotten cornered into telling people prematurely about.
We kind of leak.
We're bad at leaking that shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. It's a question I ask everybody. Is again, I was very surprised how young you are. You're 24 or 26?
26.
26. Your brother's 24, right? Very surprised. Just when we had a 45-minute conversation, and I was like, wow, like. He's seeing a lot of the angles. He's very strategic. How are you getting smarter? That's a question I ask everybody. Are you reading? Do you have a mentor? I saw that you're an Evolve fan. You're reading the book that I'm reading right now. Tell me a little bit about how you're getting smarter.
Yeah, I think my whole life I've just been pretty curious, and I've always been just trying to like learn new things. It wasn't ever like any one specific area, but I think that lent well into starting MadHappy because once we were in it, like it's very easy for me to go down a bunch of different rabbit holes and like continue to learn. I also think when you start a business, the amount you learn in 1 year is like 5 years doing anything else. So now that we've been 3.5 years in, I feel like I have like compounded that experience every single day. And of course that's like reading stuff, but also like the great investors and mentors that we have that like have had great experiences in the past, right? Like even talking to you guys and you telling me your experience, that like adds another thing for me to like be thinking about and then grow on, right? And so I think all these things stack over time, and you can look, every time I look back 6 months, I'm like, I was an idiot 6 months ago, right? Every single time. And so as long as you set that bar, like I want to think that every 6 months, right? And I think that's continued to happen.
Yeah, Mark says it all the time. Like a year ago, he's an idiot. 6 months ago, he's an idiot.
Destroy myself 30 days ago. Yeah. You got to be on that. Isn't it fucking wild how looking back, or even now, like if somebody was to work for you or intern for you, hypothetically, they should be paying you. Because people don't understand, like you can get literally an MBA from just following somebody running a business. You say 5 years, I literally think that like, I literally had one guy from our team that literally dropped out of school, and I told him in one day I could teach him more than he'll ever learn in college. And I'm saying that confidently to his parents in Bumblefuck, California. I went to a Fridays with his parents. I forgot where it was. But I'm very confident in that because I feel like just on the job, you learn so much more.
For sure.
LVMH, let's talk about them. For people that don't know about them, what are the big ones? Givenchy, Fendi, what else is in that
Louis
house?
Vuitton, Dior.
Biggest fucking fashion house in the whole entire game. Partners with you. How did that come about, and what has it done for you?
Yeah, so I think about 2 years in, started thinking about, okay, we've gotten this far on very little resources, right? No money.
How far did
raised.
you? How far did you get? How far were you? You guys were doing
about a year and a half in. Doing a little bit under $1 million in 2018, which is when we
small
started
team,
about
low
raising.
burn rate still.
Very small team. The good part about having 4 founders, there are some bad parts. The good part about it is you have 4 people. That's a lot of people that can be doing a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So you can delay adding more team members, right? So we were probably like 5 or 6 people for the first year and a half, and started thinking about what makes sense for us, right? Who's the right partner for what we're thinking is a very long-term brand, right? This isn't a short-term play, 2 years, boom, boom. It's like we might be doing this for 10 years. Who knows, right? Like we look a lot at brands like Patagonia that have done a great job on the product side, but also the impact side. And you can't make a huge impact in 3 years. You can't make a huge impact in 5 years. So anyone we brought on, we want to have that mindset, right? Of like, we're trying to make this huge impact. And so didn't want to go down the venture route. That didn't really make sense. We were fortunate to know some angels that have had great experiences building big consumer brands. And so brought some of them on, started creating some momentum. And the LVMH thing, they had started a fund around that time that was investing in new age luxury brands, whatever you want to call that. And we were fortunate that they liked what we were doing and they wanted to take a chance on us, and they've been great partners, and we've enjoyed having them both on the resource side as well as, of course, it helps us to have a great backing of a super strategic partner, right? It's not like a VC that doesn't know anything about the space. It's like someone who's been building great brands for so long. And so like all of our investors, like that's what they had to bring to the table, right? Everyone had to have something and also believe in what we were doing more so than anything.
All money isn't good money. Big facts. What's the biggest thing you learned from that deal?
The biggest thing I learned from that is, across the whole like raising process, I think you learn a lot. So I would say that day one when we were raising was way different than 6 months later when we finished. And so you're going to look back and be like, oh, like I can't believe we did this, or I can't believe we let this person in or didn't let this person in. And then that's not really fair, right? Like you only know what you know at the time. And so
I always talk to Jeff about that.
Yeah, you have a limited, just like you can't go back and be like, why did I make that decision? Because you didn't know anything better, and that's fine and normal part of the process. So I'd say like we did a good job of like being patient and like taking what we had at the time, right? Because we also needed money at some point, right? So we had to bring it in a little and not just like wait till the very end and try to optimize everything, because that's not going to happen.
And that took 6 months, you said?
Yeah, the whole process of raising took about 6 months. We weren't also in this like huge rush to raise. Like we needed a little bit at the beginning, but we let it come more naturally, right? And we didn't want to seem like we were like this company that was like on the brink, right? Because we weren't. Like we were operating in a capital efficient way, which helps us so much now, right? Now that we even have money, like we're always being careful where we spend it. We're not like stupid with it because of the first 2 years of our business, right? We learned a lot from that.
It's crazy, man. Like we were trying to explain when our partners came in that like, me and Jeff were so used to living on little to no money and living and just, we didn't know what it was like to ever lose $1 a day. I mean, these companies raise so much money and they go into debt to win on LTV. And me and Jeff's mindset has always stayed that you have to make fucking money. So I'm with you on that. Guys like Jay-Z, LeBron, all these big guys that are wearing your stuff. For the people out there, I get that all the time. People ask me, how are you getting X and X to wear your stuff? For us, it's just usually through, relationships and living in LA for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, you're from LA. But someone like, let's talk about Uninterrupted. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I think across like all the people that wear and support the brand, originally it was a lot of, like you said, relationships that you have, right? I think the thing that added another layer for us was a lot of people can directly relate with like the mental health impact we're trying to make. And so they want to, of course, align with a brand that's trying to spread more positivity and optimism in the world, right? Just like you guys are. Yeah. And so I think that was a big thing for us, right? We were never like selling the brand, like, hey, please wear our brand. It was like people that were good fits, right? Like they wanted to be wearing it, right? Whether it was them walking into our store and then becoming a fan, or them reaching out, or, you know, however they found it, like people saw it in random and cool ways. And so it's never been about for us like, hey, like, let me send you something, post it. You know, that's not what we do. It's like, hey, you like our brand? Cool. Like, you know, let's find ways for you to support along the way. And they've gotten bigger over time, but just because like, I think the brand's grown over time, right? So in the past few weeks, we've probably gotten more than we did our first 2 years, right? With like Bieber, Haley, LeBron, like, you know, even Jay-Z, right? Like they're crazy. Like we wouldn't have thought that like 2 years ago, but I think it's just like the brand grows over time and you get cool opportunities.
Well, I mean, I think timing was perfect for you guys because like right when mental health started to become like obviously prevalent and obviously positivity, like we actually have a piece that says positivity is contagious. But I think you have a name that's contagious because you look at it and you immediately, you're happy.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that? And you almost like you want it because you want to feel happy. So I think you guys really hit, I think timing was so important to your brand because I don't know if you launched this brand maybe like 5 years ago, I don't think it would have had the same appeal.
Or 2 years from now. I definitely agree. I think like timing is a huge thing for us. And on the mental health side, it was like, it's so ingrained in the name already. It's not like, what's this like little charity thing we do on top? It's like part of the name of the brand, part of the whole DNA of like being more optimistic, being more positive. And so it really meshed well, right? And like, I think it's really hard for brands to try to connect what impact they want to have into like their name. And we're just very fortunate that was like in place from day one.
Yeah, you guys said it both ways. And the name, and you just look at it and you know. And like that's with us that I just think that there's such a bigger delta in brands that you look at their name and you think, like you look at ours, you think motivation, inspiration, you look at MadHappy, you think positivity and optimism. And I think that's like an unfair cheat code that automatically gets ingrained in the consumer's head.
For sure.
Let's talk about the vision. So I know you guys have some sort of charity element. How is charity integrated into the brand? How'd you pick the charities that I saw on your site? Just tell us a little bit about that element.
Yeah, so actually what we've decided to do in the mental health space is a lot beyond charity, because how we look at the mental health space is a lot different than a company like Tom's, right? Tom's had a great idea, which was like, let's help third world countries by getting them shoes, right? It's a very clear picture. But if I said, hey guys, like, how are you going to solve this mental health crisis that we're going through? It's not any one answer, right? It's a very complex problem with like different groups playing different roles, right? We think our biggest role in the space is going to be making it cool to talk about with your friends, with your family, you know, around your loved ones, right? Like that's where we can try to influence and impact the younger generation, right? Part of doing that is the content we create, the products we release, the collaborations we do, right? And there are some really big mental health moments every year where we're like, okay, let's partner with an organization and give them more energy by doing a partnership with them. And of course, proceeds from that go to it.
What's like a moment? I don't have
Mental Health Awareness Week, Mental Health Awareness Month, right? May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Suicide Prevention Month is in October, right? So it's like, those are great moments to highlight specific organizations. But every day we're working with these organizations, right? We just launched a hotline 3 days a week where it's just a support line. If you need someone to talk to, you can just text it. It's non-crisis, but like no one's filling that void right now, right?
That's some fucking legendary
and
shit.
So
right
we can, and it's still like the early days of that, right? Like we want that to be available 40 hours a week and all these sorts of things. But we've been investing in that this whole time, and that's not gonna make us more sales, right? But it's like the bigger picture halo that we're creating under the brand of
I
impact.
disagree. I think it is going to be the halo is going to be.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, I think the halo has a big impact in many ways, but I would also say that like it's okay if some of those people aren't our customers. Yep. Like they have no channel to go to for some of these things, and I don't care if they're buying a hoodie. Like just like walking into our store, you don't need to buy a hoodie. You could write on the blank makes me MadHappy wall, right? Like there's cool ways to allow for both, because we could impact millions and millions of people even if we only have 1 million customers, right? So I think that's how we're trying to approach the space and continually adding to it, right? We have this blog, The Local Optimist. a bunch of written content that we're doing every week, 3 or 4 pieces. There's going to be audio, there's going to be video, there's going to be all these new integrations coming to that we feel like will be great on the mental health side on actually making an impact.
The impact feels so fucking good every time that we do. We haven't done charity in a while now. We haven't done it since the Smile Show with Brian. That shit feels so fucking good.
For sure.
It's like a win-win-win-win-win. You like selfishly feel amazing about yourself. The people you help, you feel I fucking love it. Where do you think the brand's going in the next couple of years? Obviously, some more collaborations. You guys are building out the mental health content. Is there anything else that's like a big grandiose vision?
Yeah, I mean, we're a brand that is making optimism and positivity cool, right? So however we can do that, that's what we're about, right? That means on the product side, of course, getting better, broader product selection, right? We have a great audience that wants more stuff from us, so they'll get more stuff from us. On the apparel side, they'll get more stuff from us on the accessory side, right? Like we want there to be accessible products for everybody, right? But when you want your clothing quality to be at a certain level, the price point won't be accessible for everyone, and we're the first to admit it, right? So I think there's a way to balance that by the free resources we have, by the lower price point products we want to release, right? So I think that's what we'll do on the product end. Continue to add to the content end of like figuring out what makes sense for our audience, right? Like what is the content that they love, right? Is it the optimistic stuff? Is it the feel good stuff? Is it the local optimist mental health stuff? And continue to build on that. And we'll get more into retail. We'll open up a few permanent stores because that has done very well for us. And we believe in that. And we want to have these like hubs around the world that continue to make that physical component of our brand real.
Love it.
Yeah, it's so good because you guys can just go so deep with your brand rather than like with us where you keep building SKUs and audiences with different, obviously, aesthetics and pieces and stuff. But you just go super deep into that
one lane,
into optimism, and
yeah, for sure.
So many ways,
and there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fuck ups. So we always like to talk about this one, the fuck ups. Obviously, hindsight isn't 2020, but what's some of like the biggest learning lessons that you've learned so far? I mean, you could just say from college until now. You went to Michigan, that's a good school too. I learned a lot of shit in college as well. A lot of fuck ups from me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of fuck ups, I mean, I think your mindset when you're in college, at least for me, felt very like, I fell into like the pack of like, oh, if you have good grades, then you should probably look at these jobs and you should probably do these things. I think at the time I was graduating, it was just becoming like so much more like mainstream to like not do that. So I think a few years later, I probably would have like second guessed myself even more, right? Like the Gary V content, all that stuff was just picking up. Like I graduated 2016, so it wasn't like really there yet. So I would say like you don't need to really do those things. And like worst case, if you try to do something and it fails, like you're still in a much better position, I think, than like if you just worked at any random company. And so that's been like a big learning for me. And I would say like luckily I got out of it, right? Like if I had never gone home, if I had never gotten sick, like I could have never started this brand. So I wish that was more intentional, I would say. And then there's so many fuck ups. I mean, every single day in terms of trying to build a business. I think on the apparel side early on, it was super hard for us to understand manufacturing, understand like the supply chain, all these issues we would have with our product. But that's just a part of it. I think like every day the fuck ups are like what teaches you every day, right? And I think that that's been so important for us.
Would you go back to school looking back, Michigan?
I think what I got at Michigan's a very unique school because
fucking plugs. That's what it is, bro.
Not only
that's one of those blue chip ones.
Yeah. Not only is it a good school and fun and all that stuff, but the people that go there and the people that have gone there have this like bond where they always want to be helping other people who went there or go there. And
like
so I think
network.
Yeah, I think that network as well as like my friends from school, like I think that's has already paid itself forward so many times that I'll go just for that, right? Like, did I need the specific classes? Probably not, but I think that part's amazing. And yeah,
it's just giant social clubs at this point.
But it matters on the school because like some schools there's no pride, and so if there's no pride, you don't really care, if someone went to your school. Right?
I would send my unborn kids to 10 schools or no school.
Yeah.
And Michigan is actually one of them. That's just like one of those.
And it's becoming smaller, definitely the list, right?
Yeah.
Like I think like Michigan's very uniquely positioned outside of like the Stanford, Harvard ones because of that, right? Like there's this weird connection where there's schools, right? There's UCLA, which is like similar in academics, but I don't think you're getting that added dimension, in my opinion, that
UCLA
you get
isn't as that community isn't as good as
yeah, it's just not
Ann Arbor.
like, yeah,
Ann Arbor's
exactly. And
Michigan, you needed those mid 90s to get in there. Couldn't hit that with the low 90s. Michigan was like a Cornell. It's like right around there.
yeah, we were ABC, so I don't know the 90s scale.
Like in the middle of the 80s. What do you do in your free time?
Free time.
I feel like you're a similar psycho that you probably have a limited amount of hobbies, but since your brand is like fucking the calm app and positivity and optimism, like you got to have like a balanced life. My life is not balanced at all. So is your life balanced?
It's a good question that we actually talk about a lot as founders, because I think we're trying to create this big impact, and then some of the downstream effects of that are like you find yourself not fully balanced, or like not doing some of the mental health and physical
but
health
you're
things
not
that
fully
you should
balanced because you're encouraging and educating on being balanced.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the impact we're making is like helping more people than it's hurting, and so that's obviously exciting for us. But also, I think over time, it's just a progression. Like I think a year ago was a lot harder than today, and a year from now will feel a lot better in terms of being able to allocate and manage our time better. Because at the beginning you're doing everything, right? And eventually you're more managing and making like smarter decisions with your time, where like at the beginning it's just like get it done under any circumstance.
I'm the former whole customer service department for a long time, about 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, we were just having that combo with Jake from
I get
Moving
fucking
yesterday.
destroyed in customer service, by the way, so I miss that shit. But you didn't answer my question. So what do you do in your free time? You fucking danced around it, bro. What do you do?
Free time, workout, hang out with my girlfriend. I like to eat around LA.
Boy lives a simple life.
That's it.
Gym, girlfriend, and food.
I do live I would say I live a pretty simple life. I think like I'm just like focused on what I'm doing right now. And so I think it's hard for me to try to like escape that, right? Like if I go out, like when I go out of town, I can do it a little bit more, but like it's with me all the time, right? And so I think it's like part of what I'm doing at all times, but I like it. You know, I'm not complaining, right? Like I'm not like, oh fuck, I wish I had more time to do this, because like that's not what I wish. Like I like what
chose,
I'm doing.
baby.
How do you not stay in the scene? Because obviously in the streetwear, in the fashion scene.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's funny because we came into the space, and we're not a direct comp to streetwear, because like also we have like a huge female audience, right? We're like 60% female, right? Like most streetwear is like 5 or 10%, right? So we have this very unique customer and audience that we didn't come about it from the streetwear angle. And like we weren't trying to be like too cool for school. Like that's not what our brand is.
That shit don't fucking work.
And so those brands and the people involved with them, I think, have to stay relevant, cool, whatever. We're just doing our thing. We've been doing our thing quietly for 3.5 years, and now it's gotten to a place where like a lot more people know it. But what makes us cool isn't what makes those brands cool, right? Like what makes us cool is that like we're defining cool in our own way, not the same way everyone else is, right? It's not about selling $400 hoodies. It's not about fashion shows. That's not what we're doing. So that's one reason. And we have very much like stayed pretty low key, and we like that, I think.
Yeah, it's very hard to do here in LA. But,
for sure.
It's a self-aware man right there, guys. One of the fucking key. Let's talk about the piece. This is unreleased. We probably have to wait. When is this launching?
Next month.
Might hit it with early. This is my favorite piece from the collection. Let's talk about it. Why'd you pick it?
I think I'm a big space guy. I think it's just like opportunity. That's what space reminds me of.
That kind of looks like it's like a MadHappy canvas. Let's be fucking real here.
I like the font, and I mean I like the concept in general. I think like it feels like a very optimistic photo to me.
This is this Space Archives NASA?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind this. I know nothing about it. This is actually the second time I've seen it. I saw it yesterday for the first time.
We saw, I mean, a lot of success with this quote when we did the Peanuts collab. So obviously with space, it kind of fits. So I just wanted to bring that quote into a new license, and got some surrealism going on. And obviously, I think the flowers are very happy, very MadHappy vibes. So
they do, for sure.
That kind of adds to it. But there's a lot of depth to this one. There's like literally, I think, there's like 6 different
It's great. We're always thinking about like such little shit, and like there's all this huge stuff that we can't even comprehend. So I think it's just like a good way to like be like
it's
what
very
we're doing isn't like
enlightenment right there.
Yeah.
It's a very enlightenment type of piece.
Let's talk about the DNA of an entrepreneur. That's the last thing I want to touch on before we go. Very self-aware human. That's what I like about you. Like right out the rip, you were when we went and sat with you. A lot of people don't be asking questions. When I go in anywhere, I always ask, the one question I always ask any single person is I always ask, how can I fuck this up? That's always the number one question I ask, especially people that are exponentially more successful than me. You get really, really interesting answers there. You should definitely start asking people. That's a fucking cheat code. Like but you kept asking us questions. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, like, ironically enough, you're digital, but brick and mortar is what you're known for. And we're kind of the opposite. So you were smart enough to ask, and I had questions on your side. What do you think, from an entrepreneur's perspective, is like the most important makeup and variables to see success? Because obviously you guys have had only success thus far.
I think it comes back to the curiosity thing and wanting to keep learning and understanding. Because I think a lot of people could take the route of, I don't want to ask because it might make me look bad, or I might look like I don't know anything, or things like that, where I'm like, if I ask you one question and it saves me a lot of time and hassle later, that's like the most worth it thing ever. So we're always doing that, right? Asking, reading, things of that sort.
Is your whole team like that?
Most of our team, yeah. And it definitely like as a founding team for sure. Because I think like we're not like big ego guys, right? Like we're able to just know what we know and know what we're trying to learn. And that's one big thing. Another thing is like, I think entrepreneurship is also not for everyone. Because I also don't like the thing of like, everyone should do this, because it's like a very specific type of mental makeup that you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with before doing those things, right? Like I think a lot of people could do better, being a number 2 or number 3 somewhere.
Isn't it fucked the whole world right now? Everyone thinks that they want to be an entrepreneur.
That it's cool, and then like not talking about any of like the downsides, right? Like there are a lot of struggles, like whether at the beginning or even now, that like we all go through, both mentally, on the personal side, on the business side, everything. And so I think that's a big part of it, is like understanding who you are as a person. Like, are you going to thrive in these situations that are like really fucking hard to go through, or like, are you the person that prefers not to deal with those things? And I think like that's what I learned about myself. You don't really know until you start doing it, but it's okay if it's not for you. I think like I hate like the preaching about like everyone should do this, because everyone shouldn't do it. And I think it's just, you got to find what's right for you. But I think those are some of the things that have a good makeup, I think.
Yeah. I think being the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, especially of bigger companies than you get in the beginning.
It's great.
That's a good fucking life.
Yeah.
We just had a guy who ran an agency. He's moving from the Midwest, and we were on the deck talking, and I was dealing with some shit, and he was just like, man, and he wind down his agency, and now he's working with us. He's like, I am so fucking happy. I don't have to deal with any of that bullshit. I'm dealing with fucking payroll, health insurance, accountants. I don't want to fucking talk to my accountant.
Yeah.
It's the fucking worst. Short and sweet, 40 minutes. The mic is yours. Anything to say? Okay. Tell him where to find you. Tell them about MadHappy, the MadHappy, everything. Where to find you personally?
MadHappy, you can find MadHappy.com at MadHappy. So we got both of those, which we didn't originally have. So happy to get those.
All right, how much was that domain?
Yeah, how much was that domain?
Just give the figures.
Domain. Oh,
I just played this game with the Sauce guys.
Well,
you got it. You 100% got it. You got it. It's yours. I bet you underpaid for that shit. Those motherfuckers could have gouged you. Mm-hmm. I hear some of those deals.
We got it like maybe a year ago.
Did you have a broker?
We had like one of us playing a broker. Because when you have a broker, the broker incentives aren't right.
Yeah,
right? They just want to make
winning
money,
on both
right?
sides. Yeah.
So for us, it was it's always like the back end approach of like, I'm trying to buy this website for a project I'm doing for school.
20 racks over or under.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
It's worth it. I mean,
very. Because
your name is.
Guys, you got to hit him early.
Yeah.
Payment was in the cut. They had no sales. They had fucking $300 worth of sales, and they were fucking. What, you just played like you guys fucking sucked and you were nothing? You had to downplay it.
We were MadHappy.us for a while, first like 2 years. And then we slowly got it. I mean, the Instagram was actually easier, and just super nice guy that gave it to us for basically nothing.
Wow.
And Yeah, I mean, all those we love those like negotiation things, because then we got localoptimist.com and like all this stuff that now is like obviously we can't live without.
Yeah.
But domains are less important now, I think.
I think the Instagram handle is the number one thing. Literally for us, we're launching something new within the company, and like the most important thing was getting the Instagram handle, which we're dealing with right now. We got to show them fucking articles of incorporation, all that bullshit. Tell them this will probably be dropping right around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Why don't you tell everybody what's going to go on during that? You guys dropping a sale, something new, something?
Yeah, so we've never done a sale and not doing one this year. We're just releasing more product during this time. Like everyone's shopping, so there'll be more releases, exciting stuff. Some
no discounts,
collabs.
I like
We've
that.
Never discounted. Ever, yeah.
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
Amazing combo, guys. Check out madhappy.com, and thank you for coming on.